Story 1. Whenever I said something smart to people as a kid, what annoyed me the most was when they replied, "Okay, friend." Story 2. A child saw my photo identification badge while I was working and said, "Your photo looks funny." I said, "Thank you." She became upset and said, "I said it looks funny." I replied, "Thanks, mate. Good chat." The child stomped off. Story 3. Start dating one of their parents and become a step-parent. Now that you are in place as a guardian, discipline the child for their bad behavior. Story 4. Do not insult strangers like that. You could end up insulting your father. Story 5. I was coaching Little League once when a kid told me I was a terrible coach. I said, "Well, we have a lot in common because you are a terrible player." Story 6. When my 10-year-old nephew slings insults, I pretend not to understand him and ask him to repeat himself. Then I act annoyed with him as if it is his fault I do not understand. I keep asking if he will repeat himself because I am pretending I still cannot understand him. After 3 or 4 repeats, he is so upset and frustrated that he usually starts crying. Story 7. A 10-year-old once told me, "I'm going to hit you in the face." I responded, "That's not how that works." Story 8. If you need to come up with a comeback, the 10-year-old has you on the ropes already. Story 9. Laughter. The loudest, most joyful laughter I could manage, while pointing at him as though there was something wrong with him. It would make him so insecure he would regret insulting me for the rest of the day. Story 10. Will Ferrell and kicking and screaming talking to a kid? Well, if it isn't Porkface Jones, I can eat a box of cookies tonight. Can you do that? No, because you're nothing but a fart-faced kid. Story 11. United Kingdom. Years ago, when working for directory assistance, school holidays would see an increase in youths making prank calls, such as this: "Child, excuse me, mate, are you queer? Me, why I am, and guess who I'm going out with? Child, WHWH who? Me, your dad." The call ends. Story 12. Now tell me something your parents have not accused you of. Story 13. Make them repeat themselves until they become angry, and then some more. Story 14. Social Security and basic rights will be gone by the time you are 35. Story 15. I know you are, but what am I? Will always be the right answer, even if it does not make sense contextually. Story 16. Is laughing too mean? I do not know how else I would know how to respond, but I fear that it would lead to insecurity in the child. Story 17. Nice burn, future comedian. Now finish your homework and use your powers for good. Story 18. I would not engage. They are a child, and whatever is wrong with them is not my problem to fix. Story 19. As an associate in an elementary school, a 10-year-old told me to go to hell. I just said, "Honey, everywhere I go, you have to go with me." The realization that dawned on their face was beautiful, followed by a little smirk as they got back to work. Story 20. Oh, I am sorry, I did not realize you were still talking. Just keep going about your business. Story 21. I was insulted by a rude 10-year-old the other day. It was during an aftercare program because the parents were probably busy. She said, "Oh, you totally wouldn't fit in this group." And I replied, "Yeah, you're right. My mom liked me too much to put me in this." Story 22. I am an adult. I can eat candy and ice cream every day, and you are still asking your parents for some. Story 23. When I was about that age, I wanted to go out and play. My father said no. I said, "It feels like I am in prison." My father did not pause or say a word. He instantly laughed directly in my face. It worked very well. I guess I would laugh in their face since it worked so well on me 40 years ago. Story 24. This actually happened to me once. I was going to say, "Your mother is calling you, time to go home." However, I said it wrong, and the child insulted me again for it. Story 25. Since they are just 10, I would just laugh and say, "Oi, do not be a meanie." Story 26. This happened to me last week. They mimicked my voice. I did not say anything except for one girl who told her friend to stop. I keep giggling about it because I just realized I sound like a raspy person. Story 27. I agree with you, but I do not argue with people past their bedtime. Story 28. I insulted some kids the other day. I was at the park with my nephew who is 6, and his mom was on the swings with his little brother. She asked if I would stay near the jungle gym to watch him play. He called down to me a few minutes later and said, "Aunt, where's my mom?" I said, "She's over at the swings with your brother. But it's okay, baby. I'm here. I'm not leaving." Then a group of slightly older boys started making fun of him. They were saying, "EW, she called you baby. You're a baby." I snapped back, "Oh, nobody calls you baby? I guess nobody loves you." Then I went and sat down on the bench. Story 29. Very loud laughter. Maybe take a picture of them and start a video to ask them to repeat it. Story 30. Yes, the insult store called. They are running out of you. Story 31. Not needing to respond or pay any attention to the 10-year-old is the harshest comeback ever and the most mature. Story 32. I am telling your parents. A monster will wait in his closet if it does not stop. Story 33. Laughing works for adults and children alike. There is nothing more vindicating than seeing everyone look disgusted and confused at the fact that you found them funny and not rude. Story 34. To my niece. You have already reached your maximum height. She is catching up to me and uses me as a guidepost for her successful growth. So I tease her with the idea that she is secretly her full height. This was in response to her measuring me and discovering that I am 4 feet 11 and 3/4 inches tall. Not actually 5 feet. I never reached 5 feet, and she is very clever. Story 35. Why do you need a comeback for a 10-year-old? Smile, say nice or thank you, and move on. Story 36. I wasn't insulted, but I have a similar story. Some kid was bullying my son once. He came up to me after school running in a circle, chanting, "He cried again. He cried again." I asked, "Are you a boy or a girl?" "Boy," he replied. "Oh, really? You look and sound like a girl." The boy lost all confidence and hasn't bothered my son since. Story 37. That's fine, kiddo. I will date both of your parents, create a loving but hard to explain household dynamic, and your friends' parents will not let them come over. Because you are 10, your friends are 10, and you still have to get permission from your parents for everything. Story 38. Are you this angry because your father does not play with you? Story 39. You talk a big game for someone who regularly wears their underwear backwards. Story 40. They are 10. I do not care about what they told me. I will forget it in 15 minutes. Story 41. If you were the swimmer who won, all the others must have quit. Story 42. Isn't it past your bedtime? You must be very tired, with genuine concern in your voice. Story 43. I was told to go away by a 9-year-old girl a few years ago. I work at the school she attended. She was a nasty bully and terrorized her class. She was on track for the behavioral unit school in my town. I could have mentioned that she has around 12 half-siblings because her father has been with many women. However, I chose not to stoop to her level of behavior. Instead, I told her class teacher, and she received a reprimand and a lecture on respecting her elders. I had only asked her to stop running into the road as she left school. She was also required to apologize to me in person. Did it change her behavior overall? No, but she learned that I would not tolerate disrespect from children and teenagers. Story 44. Sorry, what? And just keep actively not listening. They will get very frustrated. Story 45. Didn't your babysitter say you have school tomorrow? What are you doing up so late? Story 46. Now I know why your mother told me she wished that she had adopted you. Story 47. Used to teach middle school and now high school. This is the only response they do not know how to respond to. It makes them insane. Story 48. I remember my niece was being difficult to me when I was babysitting her once. You're a horrible uncle. I wasn't, but she had been having an attitude all week and had this coming, so I said to her, "You know what? I bet I can make you cry with just one sentence." "No, you can't." She laughed. So I went to the freezer, pulled out a Magnum chocolate ice lolly, and started eating it in front of her. Once I was halfway done, I said, "Oh yeah, this is the last one." She did indeed cry. She was fine and we got some more afterward. I'm not a monster. Story 49. Start dating his mother and eventually marry her, becoming his 10-year-old stepdad and sending him off to military school in the middle of nowhere. Story 50. My friend got annoyed because her nephew was being mean to her son, so she convinced him that he was adopted. Story 51. Has your mother told you who your real father is yet? Then just leave. Story 52. I am rubber and you are glue, and whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Then proceed to stick out your tongue. Story 53. He is 10 years old. Who cares? Shrug it off and continue with my day. He does not need more problems from me. Story 54. Is the baby hungry and angry? Come on, buddy. I will get you an ice cream cone or a lollipop. Watch the child become very upset. Story 55. At least I do not need parental guidance when watching a parental guidance movie. Story 56. Why would I want a savage comeback for a 10-year-old? I am 42. I would laugh and walk away. Story 57. Hey kid. The sun is going to explode in a couple of billion years. Story 58. And you are the reason why abortion should be legal. Too much? Story 59. I would do the Ted DiBiase basketball trick on that kid. If you need to look that one up, it is worth it. Story 60. Batman had the perfect response. Story 61. As a middle school teacher, that's adorable. You think I care what you think. So cute. Story 62. I was just like you at your age. Take a good look at the future you. Story 63. Tell them, Santa is not real. You were an accident, and nobody loves you. Story 64. I once said something like, watch it, or I'll sleep with your father, and give him a child he will actually be proud of. To a middle schooler who tried to steal my drink at Starbucks and called me an old woman when I stopped her. Story 65. This has already happened, and I found out where he lived. I told his mother what he was doing and who he was with. His mother came out screaming, calling him, and he was disciplined from the street to his house. He was starting to walk with these street scoundrels and starting to want to curse and fight with others on the street. I never forgot the speed of the violent slap that his mother gave him on half of his face. It looked like those competition slaps. She continued until he got to his house to receive physical punishment with a belt. In my country, there is a proverb that goes something like this. Those who don't learn at home will learn by being beaten on the street by others without mercy. Maybe this boy has changed because I never saw him mistreating anyone anymore. Story 66. Take my lumps as a man. Being insulted by a child is a rare experience that must be appreciated. Story 67. I need more context because there is no universal comeback for every situation. I need to know how I was insulted. Story 68. You know only infants communicate by being unkind. Infant. Older children strongly dislike being called infants. It affects them every time. Story 69. 10. I was 11 by the time I was your age. Got hit with that and it stopped me in my tracks. Story 70. I carry dog biscuits for my dog. I just hand him a treat and say, good boy. Story 71. You are clearly adopted, and your parents made a mistake choosing you. Story 72. Vince Vaughn. You are adopted. Your parents do not even love you. Story 73. Where is your mother? I need to give her a child she can love. Story 74. Tell your mother to give my hoodie back. She has had it for a few months. Story 75. I would release the most unpleasant odor I could possibly produce from my rear, right in their face. Story 76. If you want my comeback, you will have to get it off your mom's teeth. Story 77. A very disinterested, okay, then I ignore them. I do not argue with 10-year-olds. They are 10, and their opinions do not matter. Story 78. Disrespect their parents and then eat the children's Lunchables. Story 79. I'm a teacher in a primary school, so I work with kids of this age. Every year, without fail, they get brave and decide to take a shot at me being bald. My response gets them every time. My forehead is brighter than your future. Story 80. Just say, I've been told a lot worse than that. But nice try though. Shut them down. Shut them up. Story 81. Sticks and stones will break my bones. But now I am off to have unpleasant time with your mother. Story 82. Is your father still embarrassing himself? Is your father still hurting women? I saw his father repeatedly punch his mother in front of him. So I grabbed his father by the throat against his old Audi and made him apologize to the mother and his son. Every time I see him now, his father looks like he is about to embarrass himself. Story 83. You smell unpleasant. Are you too young to need deodorant? Or did you have an accident? Story 84. Somewhat similar. I was walking down the street after work with my headphones on when I heard something. When I took them off, I found out it was a kid hanging out of a school bus calling me a curly-haired punk-ass bitch. Solid burn. My hair is wavy, but I can't deny his prowess. Obviously, a mature adult would understand this is a child and walk away. Anyway, I said, hey, did you know anyone who yells out of a vehicle is saying the same thing? He bites. What? I'm such an asshole. 4 walls of steel and glass can't keep me contained. It's not great, but it's what I had ready after being called a curly-haired punk-ass bitch. The bus driver pulled off and saved me from probably getting completely owned by whatever his next line was. I did a creative middle finger gesture where I blew it up like it was a balloon. In retrospect, he won. I have better burns prepared for the next 8th grader that messes with me. Life is neat. Story 85. My husband and I were having a moment because we saw Toy Story-themed shoes. I think they were Vans, and underneath it said, Andy. My niece quipped, Toy Story is boring. And without missing a beat, I replied in a mimicking voice, well, Frozen is stupid. The look on her face was hilarious. I had to hold my laugh in because she looked like I had absolutely insulted her whole family lineage. It was silly, and yes, I am a full adult who gave lip to a 9-year-old. But my nieces are more like my nibblings anyway, so I have definitely gotten my fair share of lame insults from them over the years and vice versa. Story 86. If you want my comeback, ask your mother to open her mouth. Story 87. I do not argue with people who still need permission to cross the street. Story 88. I have clothes older than you. They are still cooler than you. Story 89. Wow, no wonder your parents divorced. Neither of them wants you, by the way. Story 90. It depends on what the insult is, but my little sister once said I look like Shrek. I just asked her why that is a bad thing, and she could not formulate a response. Story 91. You cannot come to my birthday party. I work with children. That is one of the worst insults. Story 92. Address everyone around you. You hear that? Everybody? That was the sound of inmate number 21430-016 weeping softly after saying goodbye to his mother on the phone. 10 years from now. Story 93. Your parents must have dropped you on the head when you were a baby. Or, hey kid, did you know that your parents are considering putting you up for adoption? Story 94. The silent look of victory as I sit at his mother's breakfast table with a cup of coffee and his mother wearing her special robe. Story 95. Ask your dad who the man is that keeps coming over after he leaves for work. Story 96. What are you? 10? Then scoff, laugh, and walk away. Why would I even care what a random 10-year-old says? Story 97. Squat down to their level. I can buy and eat as much candy as I want, and no one can stop me. Story 98. I once supervised a swim camp for 10 to 12-year-olds. One little girl of Asian descent was being bossy to a group of kids. I yelled out, settle down, short round. About 24 parents laughed at that. The girl could tell by everyone's reaction that she had been insulted, but did not understand the reference. Story 99. Clearly, you have made a mistake, kid, just like your mother and father did 10 years ago. Story 100. I would ask the child, what do you want to be if you grow up? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.